Welcome back, everyone. So as you can tell, we are going to be working with some silverware today. You can find any of these on like eBay, or if you go to your local antique stores and just kind of look around, and fairly easy to come by, and it's fairly inexpensive to make your own. So I'll go over the tools you kind of need, basic stuff, and then some more advanced things if you want to get into it that way. But there's some really cool designs on spoons and silverware out there. But you can find some that are in relatively good shape. They still clean up and look pretty cool as a unique ring and piece of jewelry, that kind of stuff. So let's get to it. The basic tools you're going to definitely want if you're going to get into this is a ring sizing kit, a ring sizing mandrel, a hammer that has a non-marring surface on it, and this is just an extra set of ring sizing tools. You can buy a kit for like 25 bucks on Amazon. It has all this stuff and a couple other add-ons that I don't have here. If you want to get into making a bunch of these, I would suggest getting one of these forming tools. Just mount it to your bench or just clamp it into the vise on here. Then you just put your piece in there and you form it around. This is on the side of $120-ish. I did see one on there that was a different brand that had some other tools included with it. You can get some of these jeweler's pliers. Only thing is, depending on the material, like not all of these spoons I have are like silverware. They're like silver plated, or some of them are actually stainless steel, so they're really hard to bend, and then that tool is really not meant to bend that per se, but you can anneal it and then it'll allow you to work it a little bit easier. And you're going to want something to cut your spoons or forks with. These, I just have an old pair of cheap junky pliers that work pretty good on some of the softer ones, or your basic hacksaw works good. Another thing that works really nice if you have one running around is a pair of bolt cutters. They just snap them right off and you're good to go. But any of the things that you cut, you're gonna have a lot of burrs, so just a file, some sandpaper to clean it up. Oh yeah, if you don't want to go this route, one of the things that you can do is find a socket that's the size of your ring size, assuming you have a socket set around. So like that would work for a size 11, and you would just like clamp your piece into your vise. Just make sure you put something on this side so it doesn't get all marred up, and then once it's in there good and sturdy, you would just use your hammer to form it around the socket. And then once you got it formed, for the most part, if it's kind of wonky, you can actually put it onto your mandrel and hammer it on here flat. You don't have to worry about wrecking this thing. Those are some of the tools that you will need if you're getting into jewelry making. I'll put this link to this chart I found online. This is more if you're making a ring, let's say out of a, let's just say a piece of copper, and you want it to be an exact size 10, so like when you roll it around, it butts up to the other end and you would solder the joint. But this tells you the length of that piece that you need to cut, so it should form this size. And this is, you know, I'm in the US, metric, all that stuff. So that's kind of a handy chart to have. I'll put that in the description. But let's get to ring making. I'm just trying to decide what I want to start with first. I think I might go with this. Not too bad of looking design. This is a smaller handle, probably about 3.5 inches. You like to cut it right before it kind of starts to flare out. That way it just reduces your sanding and cleanup time. So I'm going to cut it right about there. And if it doesn't go all the way through, you can just wiggle it a little bit, or use your saw. But I'm stubborn. But depending on what length the handle is. Like, that's relatively short, and you can get away with doing the whole thing usually. But you start getting into the larger pieces. If you cut it all the way down here, it's going to be an awful long blank. So this would be a spiral ring for sure, just a matter of how, I mean, that's a short handle too, and I got one out of that. That's a smaller size. So if you want to make some spiral rings for like a larger, like 11 or 12 ring size, maybe save these for the bigger rings, because that's a lot of real estate to use up. But we'll start with this one here. I got another one that's cut too. I'll clean these up with the file and then sand them down. Save all the cutoffs, because you can always make other projects with your spoon ends and fork heads. Got my ends all cleaned up, got all the burrs cut off. This tool you can interchange, so if you want to make a smaller ring, use a smaller mandrel for the bends. I always start with the bigger one, or this isn't the biggest, but the second to biggest, and work my way down. That way I'm not making it too small and have a lot of slack left over. Basically, you can always shrink it down if it's not to the point where you want to go. Now obviously we're going to have a little bit of overlap, which is fine, but as you can see, I can't really get much more bend out of this because I can't get that to turn. So this is where your hammer comes into play. So grab your hammer and make sure you're not smacking it up against the side of the base. Maybe just get it up a little bit higher. Now that we got it bent some, we can continue on. I have to do it a little bit more here. Try doing a little spiral ring. So instead of having your, if my hand is the tool, having that parallel, you want to kind of offset that, and then when you start to bend it, it'll kind of overlap, and then you can kind of squish it down a little bit. So the goal is to take my torch and heat it up. I don't want it to be glowing red hot. You'll probably be able to see it on the screen when I start going over it, and it just starts to get like a faint orange glow. Alright, so this is what happens when you anneal it. It tends to bugger up the finish. As you can see when you're watching, it kind of turned a lot more white, but we'll clean it up, and even though the silver part might be messed up, we can still make it look neat, and it'll bend a lot easier. So pick your poison, I guess, but I'm just showing you both ways. You can still make it work regardless if it's wrecked. So back to the bender. Yeah, it's bending so much easier that way. I'm probably putting half the force that I was in the other one. Okay, so those were the two that we made before the annealing, and this was the annealed one, and as you can see it changes the color and the finish gets all scraped up looking, but we'll still make it work. Alright, I got my polishing compound, nothing special, just some turtle wax. Okay, this is the annealed one. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean the other two, and then I'll do that off camera, and then I'll show those two. This one has, I mean, I'd have to sand it down or something to get all the nicks and scratches out of it, like right there, through there. But even then, it's certainly something different that you can turn old junk into something unique. And then this was the one that turned out the best. Most of the ones I made in the past, actually, I used just a Scotch-Brite to give it like a matte finish. I kind of prefer that than this shiny, polished look. So like this was just a very basic looking spoon. It was in pretty rough shape, but this one's a good example. This was, I can't think, used Scotch-Brite on that, and then it turned out really nice. And then some of the other ones I've had here, if you use liver of sulfur, it turns it this dark color, and then you just go over it with a Scotch-Brite or something to get the high spots. Or if you just like that dark, almost like a gunmetal look to it. Another spiral ring. This one looks really cool. Almost looks like a bronze style. And also, I just made these off camera. This is an old, I don't know what kind of vehicle it was from. This must be like one you get at the hardware and they made a copy of, but with that great big thing. But if you want something, if you're a car guy, gal, you want to get something unique, this was an old GM key. I think most of the older keys, like this one, is like the base of it is a brass, maybe a bronze kind of material, and they just silver plate it, but that looks really cool. A little bit too small for my fat sausage fingers, but hey, somebody's got smaller fingers than me, I'm sure. So just a thought, when you're wandering about in the antique store and you want to work on some jewelry projects, maybe a key or some old silverware will be your ticket. This one's really cool. United States of America. Like the eagle anyways. And then there were these two guys here. Put them on a pendant. Something like that. This one's a little bit weird looking. This one. This is the best one, I think. No, I take that back. The best one was the one I gave to my girlfriend, but yeah, they all turn out pretty good. If you're looking for something unique, then that's your ticket. Spiral rings, key rings. It's a different kind of a key ring though. Not a key ring for your keys, a key ring for your finger. Alright guys, well if you're still here, thanks for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. I think these turned out really good. Wish the car key one, the GM one, was a little bit bigger because I can't really fit it on my hand, but I think it's pretty cool. It turned out really neat. If you're looking to make something for yourself that's a little bit different, if you're into jewelry or maybe somebody that appreciates that style, maybe you can make one for somebody. But I enjoy it. It's kind of fun to just turn old junk into something better, something repurposed. Actually, these are two of my favorite rings that I made. Disregard the gross band-aid. I might do a video on the process of making them that dark color. But it's pretty simple. But yeah, I can make a video if anybody's interested in that. Maybe I'll just do it anyway, because you never know. But for now, thanks for watching, and see you later, guys. Thanks. What are you doing here? I said go. Bye.